If you are interested in running Facebook ads, but you have no idea where to start and how to use them to fill seats in your course, you are in the right spot because I am so excited to have Ashley and Elizabeth of the Paid Ads Academy with me today. For those that don't know me, I'm Amanda Warfield. I am a simplicity-focused content marketing strategist and copywriter, and I go live here every single Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, to help course creators simplify their marketing so they can make a larger impact in less time. And I'm so excited to have Ashley and Elizabeth here with me today because I am a student of theirs and they have so much genius to offer. So I'm just super pumped that we get to bring some of that to all of you. But if you guys want to introduce yourself and just tell everyone a little bit about who you are and a little bit about the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us, Amanda. It is such a joy because your community is just people that we love so much, creative educators, and just really obsessed, obviously. So I'm Ashley and I'm Elizabeth. Yes, we sound a little bit alike. So hopefully your podcast listeners can tell us apart. But we're real sisters and we own this business together jointly. And yeah, it's called the Paid Ad Academy. We teach, female entrepreneurs how to run Facebook ads. We're trying to help people have more impact, less stress, all the things that you were talking about. Yeah, what do you think? Anything else?
Yeah, we have we have like done with you stuff, and we have our membership, like Amanda was talking about. So we have a lot of different facets, but we're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love y'all's membership. I'm just gonna go ahead and plug it for everyone because it's so helpful.
Thank you.
Not only because you guys have such a plethora of knowledge. Like I feel like every time I have a question, you're like, "Oh, we have a resource on this. Let me link it to you," right? But the fact that you guys have 2 calls a week where you're just like, "What are your questions? How can we help?" It's so helpful and it's exactly what I look for in communities and in courses at this point. It's like, yes, the education, but also just like that community aspect of there are times when I show up to y'all's calls and I'm like, I don't really have a question. I'm just here to make sure that I actually work on the things that you already told me to work on, right? Like it's accountability, it's education, it's everything. So thank you guys for creating that. And we will definitely be linking to that in the description, in the show notes, everything, so people can check it out.
You're so
That's
kind.
great.
I'm going to just go ahead and say it. We're actually changing that a little bit. I
Okay.
know we're not going to have 2 live calls. I just think that sometimes it's a little overwhelming for people, but we wanted to find a way to really support because I do think the accountability is a big part of being in a membership like that. Because for me, I'm in a bunch of stuff and I don't participate in it or I forget that I've even bought it, And so
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like that. But we still want to make things available. So with Facebook ads, because they change so fast and so much. I mean, like we're doing a lesson actually this month on the election and then like the holidays. So it's election waves to holiday craze. And it's a pre-recorded lesson, but we want people to have access to that kind of information because I think that's what's going to pull them back in. And then we're still going live. It just won't be as often. And the Facebook group, we're going to start doing more things in the Facebook group instead of just on Zoom calls. So I think that's going to help people who maybe can't really do the time, can't really like give 2 hours a week to get on a Zoom call and
It's a lot.
maybe get your or your questions answered, So we're hoping that it's going to be a good fit for everyone. But I mean, we're building this for our community. And so like we're listening to the feedback and hopefully giving people what they want, which I'm sure your audience resonates
Yeah.
with.
Absolutely. I know. And that's the hard thing is so often we start these memberships, we start these courses and we have these preconceived notions
Yes.
of what we have to do and what we should be doing. But the reality is that until you get in it and you do it, you don't know what your unique audience is going to want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have to ask, and this has nothing to do with ads really, but I just want to know what's it like working with your sister?
Oh, I think it's so
Madness.
fun.
She's like, it's so fun. I'm like, oh goodness, it's crazy. No, it's crazy and fun. We have a lot of midday laugh sessions, just about random stuff. But then we also can like buckle down and be like, I think it's cool because we know each other's strengths and weaknesses like really intimately. And so like we're sisters, we're business partners, but we're also best friends. And so like we hang out constantly and
It's gonna make me tear
cool.
up. It sounds like you're tearing.
No, I'm just coughing. We're trying to hold it in, but
The duality of sisters.
I know. No, it's so true because Elizabeth is definitely like the, very direct. She's like all, like she has emotions, but but they don't exit her as often as mine exit me. And so we always joke like when Elizabeth will give me a hug after something, I'll be like, oh my gosh, like because she's not really a hugger, but it's just, it's so funny. But I always say that working with my sister in this business is one of the greatest joys of my life. Like it has been such a blessing to get to spend this time together and get to make so much impact with people and get to see, like it's when you see your husband or your, like your spouse in their work self and you're like, ooh, like I don't know about you, but I'm like, that's sexy. Like my husband's a pilot, like men in uniform, all the things. But it's cool to see her like in her work element too. I'm like so proud because like I'm the big sister. So I'm like, get it, girl. And we get to do it like every day, So it's really cool. It's good
That's
times.
so sweet. My sister is not a hugger either. And so every time I get like a real hug, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Same.
Not the little like
Yeah.
side, like pat. That's
Yes,
what I always
absolutely.
get. So, okay, moving into Facebook ads. If someone hasn't started and they haven't started simply because they're scared and they just feel overwhelmed by all of it, what's the like one starting step that you would suggest?
You probably need to have a Facebook or Instagram.
Mm, okay.
Like just
That's simple
start,
enough.
start somewhere,
Yeah.
if you have the page, whatever. But if you've never done ads specifically, I think just having like some sort of little lesson on Ads Manager, just so you can like not feel quite as overwhelmed. Because I think that's a hard part when people log in for the first time and they're like, oh no, there's more than 20 buttons on this page. What am I supposed to push? It can be really overwhelming and intimidating. So I think giving some like maybe behind the scenes.
Yeah, just to help people feel more comfortable for sure. And then I think as far as like ad strategy and like what to actually run first,
Yeah.
the answer is different based off where you are in business. If you have a more established business and you've been on Instagram, on Facebook, like you have a website and you've had some traffic coming through and you have an audience, then I would say put a retargeting ad up and send people that already know you, which would be like a custom warm audience. It sounds scarier than it is, I promise. It's actually really easy to build. Send them to a discovery call or send them to buy something or do whatever it is that your people need to do. And then if you're brand new to business and you don't have that warm audience to send something to, then put up like a traffic ad to your Instagram and put some kind of existing post on there. Like, those POV reels that people put out, like POV, like worked with me and blah, blah, blah. Or like we have a friend who put up an ad that was just like a day in the life of CEO. And it was just her and talking about her business and that kind of stuff. And just put something out there to attract your people, but also repel the people you don't want and start building that warm list. And it's cheap to do it that way, like $5 a day max. Yeah.
Okay. So then speaking of budget, what should someone expect to spend if they are retargeting or slash if they are running traffic ads? So like they're just starting out, they've never run ads before. What should they budget?
Well, it depends on what you want. Like, what are your results that you want from this? Because if you want to dip your toe in and just kind of try it, you could do like $5 a day. But if you're like, hey, I'm running a webinar next month and I want to fill it with 100 people, then you're going to have to spend, you're going to have to do the math. So it really is, it's all about mathing. And then and to kind of talk about that too, when people are talking about optimizing inside of ads, Facebook wants 50 actions in a week of whatever it is you're trying to get done. So if it's a sale, if it's getting people to your website, if it's getting a lead, whatever. And so if you're getting leads and you need to get 50 leads to fill that webinar, right, in a week, technically, then let me just do the math. You would have to do, let's just say your leads are like $3. And then that's $150 for the week. So you need to spend about $21 a day. And so that's, for some people, that's a lot of money. Because if you're thinking about $21 a day over 30 days, that's almost $650. So it just depends how fast you want to go, because you can go slow and steady, or you can just like shoot it straight to the moon. Like it's really up to you, whatever you want to do with that.
Okay, walk me through that math again. How did you get to where you got?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So 50 actions in a week of leads.
And an action being
a lead, so an email
In
and
this
a name.
instance, a lead.
Yeah, in
Yes.
this instant, it could be any of the objectives, but yeah, lead in this instant. And then I'm making the assumption that the lead is an average of $3 per lead, which is it's very middle of the road. Some people get a lot cheaper, some people get a lot higher. So $3 is probably even, I would say maybe a little bit lower than what the typical would be, right? But just assuming $3. So 50 leads times $3, $150 for the week, and then divide it by 7 days to get your daily ad spend.
Gotcha. Okay. And is there a reason that Facebook wants those 50 actions, or is that just what you
Yeah,
guys
so
have
they're
learned?
taking, yeah. So they're taking from this giant cold audience, right? From like millions and millions of users, and they're trying to filter down into your people. So you can give it a little bit of guidance, or you can go straight broad and let the AI, like, AI beast take control and see if it can find your people. But it wants to have those 50 actions so that it can feed the AI system of who are the people that are interacting and getting you the action that you want, so that it can learn. Just like you have to train, GPTs and like all of that, is you're training the AI inside of Facebook to find your people that are going to do those actions.
Yeah. And Facebook tells us
Gotcha.
that it takes about 50 actions in a week to train their algorithm. So that's why they want it to be that way. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So your goal should be to put enough money in to hit those 50 actions.
Yes. Yes. Now, here's the caveat though, is that this is for a cold audience, right? People who've never
Okay.
heard about you before. This is a huge audience. So if you're like, I don't have enough money to do that, like that's fine. We're all about the small budget. I'd rather you run a little bit of ads with a small budget than wait and
Then hold yourself back
yeah,
because you are like intimidated by the cost.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'd rather you spend, $2 a day on a retargeting. So what you can do then is do a cheaper ad, which would be like an engagement ad or a traffic ad. Those are pretty inexpensive. You can get 50 actions on those for just like pennies on the dollar, and then retarget with whatever you want, a lead ad, whatever, to people who've interacted with your Facebook, Instagram, website, whatever. There's lots of different ways to retarget. And so that way you're spending a little bit up here on your engagement ads, and then you're putting more money behind your retargeting, but you don't need 50 actions a week because it's a warm audience. So Facebook doesn't need to optimize that. So then
they're only going to show that to people who have already interacted with you.
Yeah. So that's why you can spend a lot less, because you're not trying to get 50 a week.
Oh, okay. Okay. So a cheaper way to do it is engagement ad and then retarget from that engagement ad.
Yeah.
What anyone who's listening is probably like, okay, well, why would I not just always do that? What would be the reasoning for the first strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the first strategy is a lot faster. You're going to get way more leads at a lower cost in the long run. And it's just going to, it's like, I don't know if you're like this, but we grew up not super rich, right? And so like, we're a little bit cheap sometimes. And so we'll buy something that's like not the best quality, and I'll have it for a few months and then it breaks. And then I'm like, well, crap. And then so eventually you end up buying another one and another one. And then you're like, I should have just bought the really nice one to begin with. Like, instead of wasting all this money. That's basically what we're doing. We're giving you a cheap route if you truly, truly cannot afford the more expensive one, but you're going to have to keep doing this one and keep doing this one and keep doing this one to get the results of this other one. So if you have the money, do the other one because it's better. But if you don't, you can get away with this. It's just not going to work as fast. It's going to cost you more money in the long run, but it's just going to be slower.
It does help you build confidence though. So there's a lot of times where we have like people who are honestly just scared of running ads in general because they're putting their face out to thousands of people that they don't know, which is scary.
It is.
So, and I mean, we face that, like when we run our ads, we're like, oh, I don't know if I went that angle. I don't know if I went this, like, oh, this is weird,
Trolls too.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Like random people, we accidentally got picked up by a foot fetish group. That was a whole thing. It was a really great time. But
there's
so bad.
The world is so weird.
Super weird. But it really does give you gives you confidence as the business owner to keep going with your ads. And then, then you can maybe branch out into some of those other things once you've built that confidence.
It's a good testing ground too. Like if you're not 100% sure if your offer is going to work, it's a good way to be kind of like, is it going to work? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So for course creators,
Mhm.
is there a difference in the strategy you would suggest for an evergreen course versus like, oh, I'm running a live webinar and this thing is like I'm doing a live launch?
There's so many answers to that.
There's a lot of
So
different routes, even just within that one
Mm,
like segment. There's a lot of
yes,
different ways you can do it.
it depends on how are you selling the evergreen? Is it
mm.
also a webinar, like an evergreen webinar? Is that what you want this methodology to?
Um, for the sake of the example, if that makes it easiest, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. And it's free, right? Free webinar, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So in this case, my follow-up question to that would be is how much is the course? Because that also makes a difference on what you're doing. But in an ideal world, if we're just going with, basics here, I would say run some kind of traffic ad to your Instagram if that's your main platform. And that way you can test your audiences there. And then spend $5 a day on like 4 different audiences, do it over the course of a couple weeks before you're just going to start your ads to your webinar and your course. Then once you kind of got a good audience there and you're feeling solid, then we're going to put up a lead ad to your webinar. And that lead ad is going to go to a cold audience, but it's going to be broad because you've already taught the algorithm with your traffic campaign. So now we're using that algorithm to just go out and find your people here. And then if it's a live webinar, if you're going to do it repeating, you could keep it up and just not put any dates. And that's like top notch.
Really good strategy.
Yeah,
Yep.
really good strategy. If it's evergreen, you can do the same thing, obviously, because it's evergreen. But then after you do that, you're going to want to retarget people to come back and buy the course. So with live, you probably already know this, live webinars convert a lot better than evergreen webinars do. But it's open, close, right? Like open, close, open, close. Whereas evergreen, you can keep going forever and it's easier. So make your money fast or make your money slow. It really comes down to to that.
Okay. So the strategy would essentially be the same, though, other than the fact that one is open, close, and the other is ongoing.
Yes, and the strategy is the same because it's the same selling mechanism of a webinar. We're assuming it's the same course, so it's the same price point. And it's because it's the same. Like I would tell you something different if you said you were doing a challenge or a lead magnet, or like you need to do something different for different selling mechanisms. And also if you have to have a discovery call or something because your course is like, $4,000 or $5,000 or it's a mastermind, that's different too. So there's different things for different, and this is where you could talk about customer journey too, because the customer journey is different. And the customer journey is what dictates everything for ads, because we do not want to just put up a one size fits all, like here's a lead magnet to this, and everyone's doing that, because that does not work for every audience. It does not work for every like course creator either. So you have to customize your ads to what you're doing, but it's not as hard as people make it sound. It's really not.
Okay, so let's dive into that idea then. How in the world, where do you begin if you're like, I want to make sure that my ads, because okay, well, I think based on my own experience that what a lot of us do when we're like, okay, we're ready to start running ads and we pick up a little strategy here or a little strategy there and we run it and then it kind of works, but then it's like, but then what, right? And you guys have even pointed out to me, you're like, you don't have a strategy, like you don't have an overall ad strategy, which I think ties back to this customer journey, right? Is
Yeah.
Creating an overall strategy. How do you use the customer journey to do that so you're not just like running a random ad here and running a random ad there?
I'm going to let Elizabeth answer this, but I did want to say first that you're not alone in that. In any stretch of the imagination, we have clients we work one-to-one with. I literally got into her account the other day and I was like, you have 15 campaigns going. This is like way too many, because you bid against yourself if you're not careful. And then you're just raising your own ad prices. So, but Elizabeth can talk more about the customer journey for sure.
Yeah. So when you're building your ads, you want to think about where your people are at and how you can best talk to them where they are. Because I think a lot of the things that kind of turn us off a little bit with like bro marketing, and that kind of like way, is that they're forcing you to feel a certain way and to act a certain way. And it's not like you have to be whatever, like that's subconsciously kind of is what's happening. So how can we instead turn around and have like a really ethical way of providing people an in to what they need when they need it? That just feels more authentic, right? Without like having that gross feeling around it.
And not so manipulative too.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So if you just think about your business and then take a few steps back, like, and you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, and you're thinking about it kind of in a linear way, where are they starting? Like, how are they finding you? How do they know your name in the first place? Like, is it maybe through a traffic ad where they're like seeing you and then you get sent to their Instagram and then get to know them that way? Or is it from a YouTube video or a podcast, or like, how are they finding you? And then maybe put some ad money behind that if possible. So you could run ads to your podcast or to YouTube videos or things like that. And then just being like that in each stage of your business. So then what's next for them? Once they get to know you, where do you want them to fall? Like, is it a lead magnet? Is it, something different? Maybe like a little intro course or a digital product, whatever that is. And then maybe that's a retargeting, or maybe that could be a cold audience too. Like, is that a good way for people to find you? And just thinking about kind of each step of where you want them to be and what is the end goal. Like, do you have a one-on-one? Do you have, what is your end product? And some people it's the course and that's the end. And that's great. You just have a little bit less steps. But each of your, am I trying to say the word, like each of your offer stack, like your offer ladder, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
your offer ladder, each rung, has an opportunity for ads.
Yeah. Well, and it's like a funnel too, basically. You're just creating an ad funnel. So I used to teach it that when you did the linear way, like Elizabeth was saying, like there are natural points where people fall off, where they just, people follow you on Instagram and you're like all they like for like 2 weeks. And you're like, man, this person really likes me. And then the algorithm doesn't show your stuff to them anymore. They forget you exist. And then you launch and you never hear from them. And it's just like, it's natural. It's natural for that to happen. But with ads, it's cool because you can kind of like put a little band-aid on that and show some retargeting ads that catch those people who were really interested 30 days ago and just forgot about you because the algorithm didn't show it. So that's one reason that I really fell in love with ads in the first place, was just because I'm an introvert like to the max, and I have crippling anxiety, if we're going to be honest. And so like the idea of having to do so much marketing all the time and constantly, and I know you and I even talked about this, Amanda, with before when you were over on our podcast, like the consistency has always been a struggle for me. And so the fact that I can put $30-$60 behind some ads and it's consistent for me, like it has given me so much peace of mind, like honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned not wanting to bid against yourself, but then for those that have this whole value ladder, like Elizabeth was talking about, how do you make sure that when you're creating an ad strategy, that you're running ads to the different parts of your value ladder without bidding against yourself? What does that look like?
Yeah, you have to actually map your value ladder first. So you actually need to know like where you're sending them, and you need to know, do they have to build on each other, or can they be purchased at any point in the journey? And then also, what does your back end marketing look like? Are you doing email marketing too? Which, please, Lord, do email marketing. Please, let that be the blanket statement of today. Do email marketing and make sure you're following up with those people you've already paid to acquire if you're using ads, or, busted your butt to acquire, because you're not paying for them. And so ads should really just be filling this funnel for you, and then you market to the other end. Now, when you're talking about ads to your different offers, though, you can do it different ways. If you want to run it to people who've interacted with a certain video or looked at a certain post, or trying to think, been to a certain URL on your website, like there are traffic numbers you need to hit for Facebook to be able to find those people. But there are very innovative and really cool ways that you can do this kind of stuff. You just have to be willing to like sit down and think it through. And so if you're the type of person who can back up and see a plan, big picture, which not everyone is, and that's fine. But get some help if that's not you, because there too, like you can even, especially with AI these days. I mean, my goodness, when I first made my first customer journey, it was like 2017 or something, like AI was not around. And so I like mapped all these different customer journeys, and I used to do these like marketing plans for people. It was like all this crazy stuff. And now I feel like you go to ChatGPT and just tell them what you want and probably get something pretty decent. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I just talked in a circle.
You can also like segment people, like just how you segment like your list, right? You could say like, well, if they've interacted with me in the first like 30 days of getting to know me, I want them to see this set of things. In the next 30 days of getting to know me, I want them to kind of switch over to maybe something different. And you can start like maybe excluding people from your audiences too. So it's, a touch more advanced of targeting, but not hard, just an extra couple buttons. But yeah, you can kind of start playing around with some of those things. You just have to have the numbers to do, because like she was saying, there's some traffic requirements. You need to have around 1,000 people in your audience for Facebook to show the ad to them. So if you start excluding big groups, then you're kind of pigeonholing yourself a little bit with that. But
well, and that, the strategies we just talked about were several different strategies. And that's the thing with Facebook ads, is that what works for one might not work for another. And so that does kind of suck that you have to try different things.
The testing ground.
It is. And different things work at different times, which is why we made a membership and not a course, because it needs to be updated and people need to be in there, like, learn when they're running ads, like they need to be somewhere where they're keep staying updated. Because right now, like carousel ads are doing really well right now, or they were like 2 weeks ago. Actually, I don't even know if they still are. I'm pretty sure they still are. Elizabeth's the one who manages all that. But if you took a course 3 months ago, they're going to tell you not to run carousel ads. And so you're not going to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything changes so quickly.
Yeah. And they add buttons and takeaway buttons, like so quick. Well, it never fails. We're always teaching on it whenever they add or take away a button. And so we show our page and we're like, that's not the right one. That's not where it was at earlier. Every time. But yeah, so I mean, those kind of things, like it can be intimidating when you go on and you're like, this is not the right color button that I've always clicked. Is this even the same button? I have no idea. And then you get a little update from, the group, and you're like, oh, this is the same. We did, it's a little different now, but it's fine.
So with the traffic requirement needing 1,000 people in the audience, if you're trying to run ads to a specific part of your value ladder, let's say let's just say to a course, let's say this, you want to run ads to a course, but before someone takes that course, they need to have probably, I don't know, let's say there's a freebie, a lead magnet ahead of that. Do you need 1,000 people to have landed on the lead magnet page before you start running ads to the course page? What would that look like?
I think you could go about it a couple ways. So you could just go, I mean, honestly, what we would start with probably for everyone in that scenario would be get your leads and then email market the course on the back end. Just make sure they know it's available in your Instagram, make sure you're talking about it, that kind of thing. But that's going to be that's really the only surefire way, unless you are putting some budget behind serious budget behind your leads, and then getting all those in. You could delay launching your retargeting budget for a little while and get up to 1,000 people. So maybe it took you 30 or 60 days to get 1,000 people, and then in your warm audience you retarget for the last maybe 90 days of anyone who's downloaded or something like that. You can kind of hack a little bit around it. But the true answer is that they would have to put a good bit of budget behind it to get there.
And I think maybe something to think about, I know this is like a makeup thing, but one thing that I had to learn the hard way is that I was pigeonholing my audience into, they have to do this and then they have to do that. And like they can only be in Big Break Club if they follow this specific whatever. And the reality is it's just not true. Like if people want to buy from you, why are you turning away their money? Like, do they really need that? Like, and that's not something I learned on my own. That was, our business coach had to like really nailed that into me. But we had a client a couple months ago who they specifically teach this like one skill to moms. That's all their messaging, all their marketing. 40% of their audience base is men. So like, tell me, please. Like,
Not even just audience base, their customer base.
Yeah.
They're paying
Oh,
customers.
sorry. Yeah, you're right.
40% of their paying customers are men who are not moms,
Obviously.
obviously.
Yeah.
Interesting. That is
Yeah.
so bizarre.
So
Okay.
I know. It's wild.
Okay. So you're essentially saying, though, in that scenario, go back to those first two strategies that we talked about at the beginning, where you're either putting the money behind the leads or you're doing the traffic retargeting kind of workaround, right? What?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say you could do a video views ad too. I know she loves video views.
She's been cracking me up about this. Every single person, she's like, oh, but you could do a video view.
I'm like really loving it right now. You could just do a video, right? And run a video views ad to it. And then because you don't need 1,000 people, you could retarget anyone who watches this specific video. So if it's like a really good video about whatever it is they need to know before they join your course, then okay, now you can ask your question now that I've got my video views out of the way. This interview.
I love it. So, okay. But going back to what you said about not having people don't have to take a specific route. When it comes to ads, do you suggest selling just straight to a product, like running ads straight to a product like a course? Or is it better to do the get the leads, get them into your email marketing?
It all comes back to the Facebook 50. If you are you going to pay for that? Because if your course is $1,000 and it takes $500 to get somebody in, and you have to have 50 of them in a week, and you know what I mean? That is, whoa, you're spending some serious money. Which there are people who do that.
Yeah.
But on just a normal person, you're probably not going to want to spend 20 grand on ads. I mean, just right out the get-go. So the other direction is going to be the more used route.
Yeah, and it also depends on the cost of your product too. It's like business model. We all have slightly different business models and it works differently for us. It works differently for our customers. It works differently for our products and our verticals. Ads are the same way. The ads are going to work differently for you than they work for us. So every single one of our clients is unique in their ad setup. None of them are set up the exact same way. And maybe to start out with, we might start people on we do have like some common strategies that mostly for most people will work, and we'll recommend those first, but everybody transitions out of it into something different. So it really, you have to run the numbers. You have to sit down and be like, if I have this conversion rate, and you have to know what your average conversion rates are, or what your industry's average conversion rates are. And then you have to run the numbers, put a spreadsheet together, spend a little time on it. We have our business coach puts together spreadsheets like this, and she sells them. I can give you her information if you want it, but do that, run the numbers and see, because
I think on our Instagram, we actually have the backwards ad calculator linked. So you could go in and click the buttons and add it.
Yeah.
So I think that's on our,
if we don't, you guys,
bio.
Yeah, if it's not on our link, I don't think it is right now. That's why I was saying that.
Sorry.
If it's not on our link in bio, anybody's welcome to DM us and we'll send them the link. Because we don't have a good place for resources because the cobbler's children have no shoes. So
It's so real.
I know.
So real. Okay. Yeah, that's so helpful. So whether or not you run ads straight to a paid offer depends on how much money you're willing to put into the ads.
And how much your offer is.
Right. Yeah. If your offer is 27 or 47, sure, you could run them straight through.
So again, that's another thing. That's like a SLO, right? Like a self-liquidating offer. Or I know Funnel Gorgeous is rebranding it this right now as the PLM, which is a paid lead magnet. I don't think that's what it is. No, it's
paid lead maker.
Paid lead maker is what they're calling it. So basically it's you're paying for your lead. And the idea is that people who are willing to spend some money are better quality leads because they're going to be willing to spend money now, they'll spend money later. So just like I was saying, business model, that's a business model choice. You can make a business model choice for something else. And there's no right or wrong here. This is all morally neutral, And I think a lot of us forget that. But if you did it that way, And we're teaching the ads in that program right now. That's why I'm like right on the brain. But we're teaching that you run sales ads straight to that. So that has the immediate self-liquidating offer, PLM. What are the main offer? And then it has a bump offer, and then it has a one-time offer, and then you're selling something on the back end. So you're increasing your average order value with those things. So you probably won't break even on this one offer, but add the bump, add the OTO, add the whatever, and you'll make way more money doing that than if you ran free lead magnet and then sold into the $1,000 course or whatever.
Yeah. Man, every time I talk to you guys, I just feel like I learn so much. And then have a million more questions, but
because my head feels like it's going like this all the time.
Because you know so much about this and you guys are just both so knowledgeable. I love it. Yeah, I'm so glad that one of my clients actually was like, "Oh, I just learned about these guys and you should check them out." And I immediately was like, "Yes, I'm in." Like I've never given someone my money so fast.
Oh, that's so sweet. That is so sweet. I remember that now. Like that was such a sweet thing too. You even messaged us and I was like, this girl's so kind.
Yeah, she was like, I did this free thing that they had and I tried to find it and I messaged you. And then the more I looked at your stuff, I was like, you know what? Forget it. Like I'm in. And then I learned that you guys are both Disney adults too. And I was like, oh, I'm in for life. Like,
yes. You see my Mickey in the back?
yeah.
My D23.
Love it. Okay, so actually you've shared why you love Facebook ads, but I'm curious, Elizabeth, why do you love Facebook ads?
Oh goodness, put me on the
Or do
spot.
you?
Or do I? I do, but I think that because you can like take a break and you can, like still be a human being, because I think a lot of times we just like work ourselves into a hole. So being able to like take a step back, like I took last week off to Ashley's demise. She was like, please come back.
So sad. No, not really.
But I took the week off and it wasn't a huge deal. I mean, like I had to make sure client stuff was done, but like our traffic didn't suffer. You know what I mean? Like those kind of like our business is still growing. It's like so those things. I think if we just keep thinking about the bigger picture, I like to just like every time I get like overwhelmed in the moment, I'm like, okay, but if I like back up 3 steps, like, is this actually as serious as I'm making it? And I think ads allow me to do that a little bit. Like, okay, let me have some separation from the business because I don't have to get on stories in order for people to see my face today. Like, yeah, it's just freeing.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of ways to do that too. Like you could do it with batching, you could do it with automations, you could do it with email marketing. There's a ton of ways, but Facebook ads just are the most controllable. And like I know if I pay Facebook, my people are going to see it. It's not like, oh, they might not open it or they might not get the algorithm. No. I paid for that. Like they're going to see that. So that makes me feel good as the type A control freak that I am.
Well, and it can take the batching, all of that, just such the next level, right? Because you don't have to put out as much content. That's such a huge part of it for me. It's like, I don't have to show up on Instagram every single week where, previously it was, okay, well, I want to be at least one post a week, right? Like, I'm not trying to be constantly on there. I very much teach consistency instead of constancy, but I can be consistent with one post instead of one every week now. It just takes it to the next level of that stepping away. And I think what I love about Facebook ads, although I've had to say this a lot lately to clients and potential clients, I am not a strategist. There's a reason I'm in Big Break Club. I don't know anything. And no, I really don't. And Ashley and Elizabeth being like, you need a strategy, not just ads.
It was one time. It was a long time ago. I'm so sorry that I put that on you.
No, oh my gosh, no, I'm so glad you said it because it's what I needed. Don't be sorry. No, I'm all for the teach me. That's why I'm there. No, but it's so true. Like anyways, my point of that being there's so much I don't know. I am like at the very beginning stages of figuring out ads, but it's a good reminder of the fact that business is all just one big experiment. And I feel like more than any other marketing that I've ever done, Facebook ads is such a good reminder of that. And that's something as a type A person that I really need is like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can play around with it. It doesn't have to be right the first time. Like that to me is a reason that I love and hate them. Because I wanna be able to just like put a strategy in place and then it'd be good, right? But for me, it's something that I need. It's a good reminder that I need constantly of just like, it doesn't have to be done perfectly right from the start. You'll figure it out, and there's no one right path. It's like geometry. I freaking hated geometry because like in algebra, there's one way to do things, right? And then in
Yeah.
geometry, they're like, well, you could go this way with a proof and this way with a proof. And I was like, my brain hurts. I just want one path, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's valid.
so anyways, okay.
It's encouraging,
I
but it's also frustrating.
yeah. Which is business, right?
Yes.
True.
And it's just like anything. You have to pick your hard because like we could choose not to do Facebook ads and our hard would be showing up consistently and finding different traffic sources. Maybe I would pick putting email marketing more robustly or a better website or SEO. Like we do Facebook ads, but our SEO is in the toilet, basically, like we don't blog, we don't, because we've been a service-based business for years and we haven't needed to be honest, because we couldn't take any more than a certain amount of clients. And so you just have to pick your heart and do one thing at a time. And if it's not ads, oh my gosh, we are not going to judge you. Like we totally get it. But if it is ads and you want some help, like we're always happy to help people, like especially people who are really trying to make the world a better place. Because I mean, at the end of the day, life is so short and there's only so much you get to do. And so I don't know about you, but if I can automate or outsource, hand something off, I want to do it because I love my business. I love working, but like I want to be with my family. I want to be hanging out with Elizabeth. I want to be going to Disney World, like I don't.
Yep.
And I think we forget that, right? Like at least for me, I'm an Enneagram 3, type A, oldest sister, control freak, all the things. And I'm like, I will work myself into a hole. Like I will and have and do, but life is short. And when you get those reminders of how short life is, you're just like, it's not worth it. I'm going to be 80 and I'm going to look back on my life and be like, is this really, I spent my life stressing to the max over a business that has nothing after I'm gone, and I hope that's not how it is. Like, I hope there's something that stays after I'm gone, but it won't be Facebook ads. It'll be the way we treated people and the way we helped our people help other people. And it's not the methodology that we're teaching, it's the impact it has. And I think that's for everybody. I don't think that's just for Facebook ads.
100%. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but none of us started a business because we were just like, oh, I really love, like, I didn't start my business because I was like, I love marketing. Like, I've come to love marketing, but that's not why I started my business.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there so much more matters, so much more. And I'm the exact same way, except that I'm a type 1 instead of a 3, or an Enneagram 1 instead of a 3.
Cool. I love a type 1 too.
But like type A, like gotta have my Lexapro, like, like I am like oldest sister, like
little
to the
cocktail in
T.
the morning of medicines. Yes.
Yeah. But I find myself working myself into a hole all the time. And it is this nice reminder of like, okay, but does this really matter? No. Like, we moved out here to Washington a year ago so that we could have more time together, so that my husband doesn't have to work. So that, like, there's all this stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's so easy for me to get caught up in that. Oh, but I got to keep working. I got to grow into business. It's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I can just let it ride. Anyways, okay. That was
be
a whole
good
side
enough.
tangent. Yeah, exactly.
No, I love a side tangent because that's sometimes what people need to hear. There might be someone right now listening to the podcast or whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And maybe they'll stop working themselves into a hole. I mean, are we going to start working ourselves into a hole? Probably not. But
One day.
maybe less holes. How about that?
It comes in waves, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And that's why, simpler marketing. That's the whole point, is that impact of like, how can you make a larger impact in less time so that you don't have to spend all of your time on your business?
Yeah.
Man, I feel like I could talk to you guys for hours. We may have to have you back at some point. For anyone here live with us, this is the last call for questions. If you have questions about Facebook ads or anything that we've discussed for Ashley and Elizabeth, drop them in the chat. And while we wait to see if anyone has any questions for y'all, there are two things that I don't let anyone get out of here without giving us. First is an action step to take moving forward. And then the second are book recommendations. They don't have to be business books. It can be literally anything. So
I don't know if you sent that in the prep thing, but I would have
did
a
not.
list. Okay.
I did not.
So good. You have book recommendations? Let me get my Goodreads up. Okay, hold on.
I know, for serious.
We're book people. Okay. Okay.
We can just link to your Goodreads and people can add you as friends.
Well, I'm gonna have to have a disclaimer online if they do that, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. Nothing.
There's no judgment allowed here.
Okay, no judgment allowed. Okay,
Done.
action step though. If you want to get started with Facebook ads and you've never done it before, we have an ad starter kit. It's completely free for you guys. It's normally $47, but I really think like so many people need this because it's just a place for you to go and not get overwhelmed and just be like, oh, it could be a little easier than I thought. Or, oh, I'm just going to pick this one strategy. We gave you baby steps inside of it. We're like, here's a baby strategy. Here's a little baby budget. Here's some creative you can pick. Here's a little baby ad copy that you can try. So we tried to make it really simple. Is this going to change your life? Probably not. Is it going to maybe help you get over the initial hump? I hope so.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, we will get the link to that and put that in the description and the show notes for everyone. Thank you guys.
Of course. Of course.
All right, book recommendation.
Of course, if you have not read A Court of Thorn and Roses,
That's a number one.
A number
It
one,
must be done.
go do it right now. And then when you're done with it, read Reese's point of view from Mist and Fury. Have you read that?
No.
Oh gosh.
How do
I
you
literally read it in one day. Because it's like a fanfic. And so you have to go like download it. Just Google it. I'm sure it's somewhere like you can find it. But yeah, Reese, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's
Good
so
stuff.
good.
Good
Yes.
stuff.
And then, okay, you tell your book you just read because you were telling me it was so good.
Okay. Well,
Okay, Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I just read that. It was super great. The Patriot by Jennifer Milliken. I don't read those. I didn't like these ones. A Dawn of Onyx. That was really good too.
Okay.
If you
Oh
want
my
to link the
gosh.
Goodreads. Oh, look, this is literally my screensaver.
I love it. I love it so much. Did you see the new Kindle colors?
I have, but I'm like, I don't know if I need that. I feel
I
like
know, I don't.
I just want things to be simple when I'm reading. Like I do use my Kindle, but I kind of only because I can put it in my little stand and have my little buttons and be like a little hermit with my little blanket. What's your recommendation?
Okay, all right. Well, you have to rank Fourth Wing. Those are really good. I mean, I feel like there's like the top popular ones, but also I really enjoyed the autobiographies from Julie Andrews, Home, and she has like the two-part. I know.
She's trying to not be judged.
Oh wait, okay. If you want like a spicy one, I really liked Done and Dusted. It's like a cowboy romance, very cutesy. Or
Not demure.
not demure, no. But it also there's one, oh my gosh, what's it called? Hold on. I am literally I have 30 minutes left in the audiobook and I'm dying. It's called Huck from Lulu Moore. It's a hockey one.
Okay.
Good one. It's a good one.
I love it. Wow, you guys gave us a plethora. I love
I
it.
know. And if you want to link our Goodreads, like just DM us on Instagram and we will, but we have to like vet you first.
Yeah.
Like, are you related to us in some distant way? No, you can have it. Yes. Nope.
Amazing. I love it so much. Okay, no questions have come in. So for anyone watching this later, if you've got a question, drop it in the comments and we will come back and answer it. Thank you guys for being here today. I learned so much from you. Still, again, like I said, every time I talk to you, and I know that everyone watching did too and listening. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was an honor.
And we will link your website, social media, everything in the show notes so people can find you and check you out.
Awesome. Sounds great.